Whole Lotta Love is a song by English hard rock band Led Zeppelin. It is the opening track on the band's second album, Led Zeppelin II, and was released in the United States and Japan as a single. The US release became their first hit single. It was certified gold on April 13, 1970, having sold 1 million copies. As with other Led Zeppelin songs, no single was released in the United Kingdom, but singles were released in Germany, the Netherlands, Belgium and France. In 2004, the song was ranked number 75 on Rolling Stone magazine's list of the 500 greatest songs of all time, and in March 2005, Q magazine placed Whole Lotta Love at number 3 in its list of the 100 greatest guitar tracks. It was placed 11 on a similar list by Rolling Stone. In 2009 it was named the third greatest hard rock song of all time by VH1. Already part of their live repertoire, Whole Lotta Love saw its first official release on the LP Led Zeppelin II on October 22, 1969. In 2014, listeners to BBC Radio 2 voted Whole Lotta Love as containing the greatest guitar riff of all time. Song construction: the song is in compound AABA form. Page played the loose blues riff for the intro, on a Sunburst 1958 Les Paul standard guitar through a Vox Super Beetle, which ascends into the first chorus. Then, beginning at 1:24, the song dissolves to a free jazz-like break involving a theremin solo and a drum solo and the orgasmic moans of Robert Plant. As audio engineer Eddie Kramer has explained, the famous Whole Lotta Love mix, where everything is going bananas, is a combination of Jimmy and myself just flying around on a small console twiddling every knob known to man. Kramer is also quoted as saying, At one point there was bleed-through of a previously recorded vocal in the recording of Whole Lotta Love. It was the middle part where Robert Plant screams, "Oh man, you need love." Since we couldn't re-record at that point, I just threw some echo on it to see how it would sound, and Jimmy Page said, "Great. Just leave it." Led Zeppelin's bass player John Paul Jones has stated that Page's famous riff probably emerged from a stage improvisation during the band's playing of Dazed and Confused. Alternatively, Jimmy Page has vehemently denied that the song originated on stage. Interviewer: is it true Whole Lotta Love was written on stage during a gig in America, when you were all jamming on a Garnet Mims song? Page: No. Absolutely incorrect. No, it was put together when we were rehearsing some music for the second album. I had a riff, everyone was at my house, and we kicked it from there. Never was it written during a gig. Where did you hear that? Interviewer: I read it in a book. Page: oh, good. I hope it was that rough guide. That's the latest one, the most inaccurate. They're all inaccurate, you know. In a separate interview, Page explained, I had the riff worked out already before entering the studio. I had rehearsed it. And then all of that other stuff, sonic wave sound and all that, I built it up in the studio, and put effects on it and things, treatments. For this track, Page employed the backwards echo production technique. Release: upon release of the LP, radio stations looked for a track that would fit their on-air formats from the quickly successful LP, with the pulsing lead track Whole Lotta Love being the prime contender. However, because many radio stations saw the freeform middle section as unfit to air, they simply created their own edited versions. Atlantic Records was quick to respond, and in addition to the release of the regular single in the US from the same LP as the B-side, released a 3:10 version of the track with a freeform section cut and an earlier fade-out on November 7, 1969. Both versions were released as Atlantic No. 45-2690. The edited version was intended for radio station promotional release, but some copies were apparently released commercially in the US and are a collector's item for fans. The song was released as a single in the US, France, Germany, Switzerland, the Netherlands, Belgium, Australia and Japan. The edited version was withdrawn. In the United Kingdom, Atlantic Records had expected to issue the edited version themselves, and pressed initial copies for release on December 5, 1969. However, band manager Peter Grant was adamant that the band maintain a no-singles approach to marketing their recorded music in the UK, and he halted the release. An official statement from the band added that they had written a special number which they intended to be their first British single. This never materialised, and despite much record company pressure, they declined to issue official singles in the UK throughout their career. Several years later, Atlantic Records reissued Whole Lotta Love on its Oldies series label with a slight error. The edited 3:10 version was used for the reissue, but the labels were printed with the unedited running time of 5:33. In 1997 Atlantic Records released a CD single edited from the original 1969 recording of the song. This version charted in the UK where the band had maintained control over single releases during their existence. Similarities to You Need Love. In 1962, Muddy Waters recorded You Need Love, written for him by peer Willie Dixon. In 1966 British mod band The Small Faces recorded the song as You Need Loving for their eponymous dark copyright but Decca LP. Some of the lyrics of Led Zeppelin's version were adapted from the Willie Dixon song. Plant's phrasing is particularly similar to that of Steve Marriott's in the Small Faces version. Similarities with You Need Love would lead to a lawsuit against Led Zeppelin in 1985, settled out of court in favor of Dixon for an undisclosed amount, although the ASCAP credits remain unchanged. The Small Faces were never sued by Dixon, even though You Need Loving still only credits Ronnie Lane and Steve Marriott. Robert Plant, a huge fan of blues and soul singers, regularly quoted other artists' songs, especially Live. Page's riff was Page's riff. It was there before anything else. I just thought, well, what am I going to sing? That was it, a Nick. Now happily paid for. At the time, there was a lot of conversation about what to do. It was decided that it was so far away in time and influence that, well, you only get caught when you're successful. That's the game. Chart success and live history. The single entered the Billboard Hot 100 chart on November 22, 1969. It remained on the chart for 15 weeks, peaking at number 4 and becoming the band's only top 10 single in the U.S. Live, the song debuted April 26, 1969. When performed live, Whole Lotta Love also occasionally included segments of other Led Zeppelin songs such as I Can't Quit You Baby, You Shook Me, How Many More Times, Your Time Is Gonna Come, Good Times Bad Times, The Lemon Song, The Crunch, Demaka, Black Dog, Out on the Tiles, and Ramble On. A famous show Closer at Led Zeppelin concerts, it was since mid-1970 performed as a medley of blues and rhythm and blues interpolations favored by the band. Many of these included classics by Eddie Cochran, Elvis Presley and John Lee Hooker. Live versions of Whole Lotta Love were released officially on the following titles, the song remains the same. 2XLP, Led Zeppelin BBC Sessions. 2XCD, How the West Was Won. 3XCD, Led Zeppelin DVD. 2XDVD, Whole Lotta Love was the last song Led Zeppelin ever played live. It was however performed again at the band's reunions at Live Aid in 1985, at the Atlantic Records 40th anniversary concert in 1988, and at the Ahmet Ertegun tribute concert at the O2 Arena, London, on December 10, 2007. Accolades, designates unordered lists. Formats and track listings, notes, withdrawn. Charts and certifications. Personnel, Robert Plant Euro vocals, Jimmy Page Euro rhythm and lead guitars, theremin, John Paul Jones Euro bass guitar, backing vocals, John Bonham Euro drums. Cultural influence. The song has been widely covered by many artists. It was famous in the United Kingdom for having been the theme music for the long-running television program Top of the Pops for much of its history. The first version used was based on a recording by the Collective Consciousness Society, a band led by blues guitarist Alexis Corner. The CCS version reached number 13 on the British charts in autumn 1970. The song returned as the theme in 1998, this time using a reworked version of the original Led Zeppelin guitar riff. A rewritten version of the song featured in the London 2012 presentation during the closing ceremony of the 2008 Olympic Games in Beijing on August 24, 2008, with Jimmy Page on guitar and Leona Lewis providing the vocals. Both Lewis and the organizers requested that some of the lyrics be changed, notably "I'm gonna give you every inch of my love." Lewis felt that the line made little sense coming from a female singer. The main riff of the song was used in a Frank Zappa live performance excerpted on the La Currency There album as Duck Duck Goose. A more complete erotic version was issued as a bonus track titled Leather Goods. In the 1980s, Detroit television station WXON used the instrumental bridge from the song as intro music for its weekly horror film program Thriller Double Feature. On May 29, 1997, Jeff Buckley waded into the Mississippi River while singing the chorus to Whole Lotta Love, and drowned shortly after. In 2008, the song was featured on Led Zeppelin The Ride at the Hard Rock Park in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. The 2008 Foreigner compilation album No End in Sight, The Very Best of Foreigner contains a live version of Jukebox Hero, which crosses into Whole Lotta Love at one point. Christina Aguilera performed it during the 2014 New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival. References. External links: Whole Lotta Love at LedZeppelin.com, full lyrics of this song at Metro Lyrics.